Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. There's been this thing going around online as kind of a, little joke that 2022, which is the year that we're about ready to roll over to, is basically just 2020 again. Get it? A little play on words, 2022, T-O-O. I don't know. Most of you get it. I get it. There may be a few slower folks out there that by the end of the video, you're going to start laughing like, I get it. 2022. Well, there's other evidence that this coming year may just be a repeat of a couple of years ago. Have you seen what China's doing? For those of you that were in tune to all this goings on as it was happening, when it happened, and even before it happened, you'll remember all those videos coming out of China. Remember that? Videos of people just falling over dead, videos of them welding people into apartments, of them dragging people off in body bags and stuffing them into vans, and it was horrific. I mean, it was the most horrific thing anyone's ever seen. And a lot of people were worried. I mean, is this real? Is this fake? What is this? Because if what they were showing at that time, and that was about this time of the year, if you remember correctly, 2 years ago, if what they were showing was real, I mean, we're talking bad. Really, really, really bad. And most of you know that, excuse me, that there's a good chance that even if there was what we saw and what we knew through the media was legitimate, which none of us believe that it was, a lot of us believe that the initial response here was based on what we saw out of China. All of this just chaos. I mean, it was awful. I mean, it made the Spanish flu look like, the sniffles. I mean, it was awful, like Black Death on steroids, folks. You know what I'm talking about, those of you that saw it. Well, guess what? China's doing it again. They are locking down, hard lockdown of millions and millions of their citizens. And we've seen videos come out where they're walking around in the full non-rebreather, level 3s and all that kind of stuff, look like they're walking on Mars. And they're going around rounding people up. They've paraded around the people that's not gotten this and that's not locked down in cages, these big vehicles that they haul around farm animals in, and they put those in it and they parade them around in the streets, letting everyone know this is what happens if you don't follow orders. They are doing a very hard lockdown. People in these areas are not able to leave their home pretty much for any reason at all. Like, they have to stay inside their home. So I guess the question is, are we about ready to see a repeat? I mean, what's going on here? Now, I have to be careful about what I say because I'm under a probationary period with YouTube because I got my, hand slapped a few weeks ago. But, folks, the information that we're receiving, and I'm even talking official information about this new variant, it doesn't really sound too terrible. I mean, are there going to be some people that's going to affect negatively and severely? Yeah, but that's even the common cold and the seasonal flu can affect certain people, the most vulnerable part of our population, pretty seriously. But the vast majority of the people that get it, it's not a big deal. It's not something that should be a life-changing event. I mean, I don't want to give out misinformation. I'm sure people, are legitimately going to be affected by this. But from everything that we're seeing, the vast majority of cases so far are extremely mild. And that's coming from the official channels. We're seeing other countries kind of go into a panic because of it. In fact, here in our own country, the CDC released a map. This is the first time since all this started. Each map, the map where each state has a different color based on the severity of the things that are happening in that state. Well, today was the first time they released a map of all 50 states, and every one of them were on the most extreme color. Red, solid red. Look at this. Just red, everything. It's bad. It's bad, folks. The apocalypse has happened. DEFCON, 1 million. Like it's bad, according to, well, what they're saying. We're seeing what's happened in China. We're seeing the things that they're doing in places like Israel and Australia and Germany, where their very extreme measures are happening. We're also seeing those very extreme measures happen here in the United States. Most of you aren't experiencing that, but some people are. And I think because only a small portion or just certain places are experiencing it, a lot of people in America think, well, things are starting to go back to normal. Unless you live in New York, unless you live in Boston or Chicago or Washington, D.C. I mean, there was where they kicked this mother and her child out of an Applebee's because they didn't present proof of the thing, This is what's happening in America. This isn't what's happening in China. This isn't what's going on in Germany or Austria or Australia or Israel. This is happening in the United States. And it's spreading. In fact, it's spreading probably because, as you all know, the president said the other day that, well, forget about what I said during the campaign. Forget that I said that when I got into office, we're going to lock this down. We're going to end this. I mean, that's what he told us, remember? Except now he says there's nothing we can do about it. There's no federal response possible. And he throws it back to the states. He says it's the states that has to do this. And so I assume that what that means is over the next coming weeks and months, we're going to see and hear about talks and campaigns pushing states, threatening maybe, who knows, states to push the mandates and to push the force their citizens in each state to comply, like we've seen in a few states that still have very restrictive, measures that are being put into place. The other thing that we saw this week was the CDC saying that, well, we're going to back off this whole stay at home if you got the thing, okay? Instead of 10 days, it's only going to be 5 days. And Dr. Fakey let us know today that the reason why they're doing that is because so many people are getting this new variant, and it's spreading so rapidly, and they anticipate so many, like the vast majority of Americans, to get it, that if everyone that got it over the next coming weeks took 10 days of home isolation, it would absolutely shut our society down. That was actually his words. That's what he said, not me. That's his words. So there's a lot of mixed messages, which is also very reminiscent of 2 years ago. That sounds like 2022. 2020 also. There, I'll get the words right. That sounds like 2020 also, where, especially for the first few months, it was just really confusing. You had the president saying one thing, you had the World Health Organization saying another thing, you had Dr. Fakey saying a third thing, and you had all these other people saying fifth, sixth, and seventh, and eighth things. And none of it made any sense, and that seems to be what we're seeing already. So, although I don't know exactly what's going on, I don't really have any predictions other than I'm sure it's not going to end up good for us, because they're just not going to let this go. They're not going to walk away from a good emergency and use it and drain it out to its fullest extent. And here we have numbers skyrocketing. Many countries, including our own, are reporting the highest one-day case increases since this all began. They're making it sound like it's the most horrible thing, well, since forever. And as all of you know, the hospitalization rates and the actual severity of cases rates seems to be pretty low with this one. Not saying that people aren't going to get really bad sick, but certainly not to the level that we've seen over the past year and a half. So if that's the case, and it's become pretty much just a common cold like other common colds that are out there, then why the hype? Why the fear? Why the panic? Why the threatening of, it's going to be a deadly and painful and dark winter for you, for those of you that didn't obey? Why is that? I'm sure that they've got something up their sleeve. I mean, we're already seeing our economy not look good. I mean, forget about what the stock market does, because they're just trying to milk every dollar out of all of you middle class people they can at the stock market. That's all that's going on there. But look at the actual economy. Look at the actual numbers. Businesses, there's a job shortage. There's a worker shortage. Not shortage of jobs available, shortage of workers, people that will actually be willing to go in and work. I've talked to people here in my area, business owners and managers of small businesses around here, and that's the number one thing they've told me. They can't get anyone to come work for them, and when they do, they can't get anyone to actually work. I mean, if I wanted to right now, I could probably have 10 jobs. I've been offered jobs just because I know the owner, I know the manager, and they've asked, hey, if you just need a little side job, just pick up a few hours to come in, I'll pay you good money just to come in and help out. It wouldn't be that hard right now. That's bad. And it could get a lot worse when you see the possibility of hundreds and hundreds of thousands of new cases a day. And if all those people are told they can't go to work for even just 5 days, that's going to really hurt the economy. And then we look at our supply chain that's not getting any better. We're telling truck drivers after the first of the year that they can't cross the border with their trucks filled with goods unless they prove that they have the thing, And there's a lot of truck drivers that are refusing that. I've seen numbers from 20 to 30% of truckers absolutely say they're not doing it, that they will walk away from their job if that's what they're required to do. And so how is that going to affect our economy? 10, 20, 30% of the truckers just walk away. They stop rolling. That's not going to be good. That's going to affect us very severely. How many people are not going to be able to go to work? I mean, just this past weekend, thousands of flights were canceled. Simply because I guess everyone had the and they couldn't go to work. And apparently what we're hearing is they had to cancel several thousand flights because there just wasn't enough people to keep all these planes flying. And if this ends up being a trend in the very near future over the next 4, 6, 8 weeks, it looks like the first of 2022 could be very bleak and maybe even way worse than 2020. So, I mean, I don't really even know what to tell people anymore. I feel like I'm a broken record. I feel like, should I even be saying the same thing in every video anymore? I mean, are people getting tired of it? Get your house in order. Prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually for what's happening, because there's a lot happening. And I think the last couple of weeks, there's been holidays for a lot of people. It's just that time of year where kind of things slow down just a little bit. Kids come home from colleges. Certain people don't even have to work for a couple of weeks, the last couple of weeks. This week between Christmas and New Year's is always kind of a dead week. A lot of people take time off, and the people that do work usually aren't very productive. So it's just kind of a dead week. But I have a feeling that in the next week, 2, 3, 4 weeks, we could start seeing things kind of get pretty nasty. And we could see possible mandates in some states, more than what we've seen before, and supply chain problems, food problems, economic problems. It's all kind of pointing down the road of not very good. In fact, there's not really any silver linings in any clouds right now that we're seeing. So again, folks, just get yourselves prepared, get yourselves ready. It doesn't look like 2022 is going to be all that great. It may be as bad as 2020, but it certainly looks like it's kind of getting worse. And the whole world, at least governments, seem to just be, running in fear of how bad things are really going to get. And I'm sure that's going to just kind of roll downhill to you, the individual citizen. And we don't know how bad it's going to get, but it certainly doesn't look like it's going to be good. So buckle up, folks. Get yourselves ready. Stock up while you still can, because 2022 is here. Well, at least it's almost here. All right, folks. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.